Yo. So, there's been a lot of thoughts on my mind, but one thing I do want to speak on is BTC. So, I've been stepping up my game a little bit with trading and just ultimately looking at new instruments. There's a lot about cryptocurrency that I don't know because my main focus is just trading forex and then building my knowledge up in that area. However, I have looked into BTC and people have said like your trading shouldn't really differentiate because of the pair. Like the same patterns will appear, the same concept still applies. So I've been looking at BTC recently and I just want to show you guys. We're active. So I just want to show you guys like a couple of movements that I've spotted. So it is currently Friday, and as you can see, this is what BTC is looking like. Now, this pattern, where price proceeds to bid higher at the beginning of the week and then move lower into the closing part of the week. This is a consistent pattern that has appeared many times in my trading journey, so I'm very familiar with this pattern. But one thing I wanted to dive into was just the open, because with BTC doesn't close. None of the cryptocurrencies actually close on the weekend. They actually stay open 24/7, which is a little bit different, So I've been looking at the open and the significance of that, and I actually spotted a pattern occurring with this particular week that I was analyzing BTC. So I'm gonna head to smaller time frames to show you guys. Another thing as well is that it opens at 1 a.m. so that's the beginning of the Asian session. So that's also a funny coincidence, but not. So we move higher on that Friday and we have an inside day on that Saturday and pretty much an inside day on that Sunday as well, but just slightly proceeding higher, creating higher highs. And like I said, with this pattern, it's appeared many times. We've put a higher high in, we dump, and then we pump. Now, one thing I did dive into was candlestick patterns. That's what I was really focusing on when I was analyzing these areas on BTC, the open. So right here, I can see a W pattern. It's very easy for me to see that. There's a clear W pattern. Price moves lower. We put a midpoint. It moves slightly lower again, back into that low point, and we actually respect it, by meaning we don't move into that area right here. We respect it, and then instantly we create an engulfment candlestick. So that's a nice momentum candlestick. So this is a W pattern with an engulfment candlestick, and from that, price absolutely exploded, and that was at 2:30. So you get your entry in there, you get your stop in, and this is all during the Asian session. And as you guys can see, it offered 1 to 4s, almost into the realms of 1 to 5s if you know how to properly align your risk. But yeah, 1 to 3 is right there for you guys to see that Asian session. And then into the next day, we pretty much create the same pattern. We put a higher high in at the close of the day. We then proceed to dump. And then from that dump, again, this is all during midnight because we open at 1. So we actually open Asian session, bang on Asian session, which is nice. And we create the same pattern. I can see the W pattern here with a low, a midpoint, and then the same engulfment candlestick as last time. And I could also see a minor head and shoulders pattern with price coming lower, pull back slightly, lower again for the head, pull back, and then lower again for that last shoulder before we burst off. So it's pretty much done the exact same thing as the day before, and these times 1 to 2s is there. Let's see if 1 to 3, yes, 1 to 3, we can get into the realms of 1 to 3. And the next day I look at Asia again, and I can see a very, very clear inverted head and shoulders pattern. So what does price do? Price moves higher to create that higher high. We then dump. Pretty much the same amount as last time. And then we move lower for that shoulder. So let's get this highlighter tool. And then shoulder, triple bottom. We get our engulfment candlestick at 1:55, so that's right before key time. And then if we shorten up the stop, we can get 1 to 2s. But with this, as we can see, price moved into profit and then pulled back. So depending on how people managed risk and depending on how they took that, you know, this could have been successful or unsuccessful. It's all dependent upon the trader. So that's 3 times that we've had that occur, you know, with a pattern, a very, very clear buy pattern, either a W, head and shoulders. So yeah, pretty much all I wanted to emphasize was that price doesn't just move randomly, you know. Like if you really study these topics, you will actually see that price gives you indications, it gives you signals, it gives you, you know, warnings, alerts, all sorts of things to show you what it's actually going to do. And ultimately your job is to just, first of all, get to a place where you've experienced these patterns occurring over and over again, and you actually take action. And with that, you end up building confidence. Now, demo account and live account, 2 different things. I'll just say that much. But yeah, just wanted to show you guys the reason, like, price moves, but it gives you indications. It pretty much kind of like tells you what it's going to do, and your job is to just read it as best as possible. You know, over time you will develop just natural knowingness within the market, and that comes through experience and you being there through all phases of the market all year round, you know, multiple times over, and just doing the work. And you get to a point where it just becomes second nature. The pattern recognition becomes second nature. Like, you won't need to look at that and think, oh, that's a W pattern. Like, you won't need to guess anymore. It pretty much, like, when you see it and you know it and everything aligns, it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take a position here and I'm going to manage it this way. So yeah, many topics covered, you know, candlestick patterns, actual chart patterns in terms of W's, head and shoulders, you know, and then of course, being that this is a cryptocurrency, I'm new to cryptocurrency, so like I said, I've never traded cryptocurrency, but recently I've started to take a look at it, you know, instead of being like, oh, I don't want to look at cryptocurrency, because I had this mindset of like, this is all like the new, it's just new, you know, and when I haven't mastered the forex part of things, I didn't want to switch and move on to a different aspect. But now that I've actually got to a level of mastery within my skills and my ability, now I'm starting to utilize what I've learned and apply it. So yeah.